All right, so for today, we're going to be looking at mean versus median. All right, two different informations. Mean is what we talked about last week, which is another word for average. Median is the number in the middle. So we're going to be looking at both. So let's take a look. First of all, it says find the median and the mean for each data set. So do notice that in this case, I'm asking for two things. Find the median and the mean for each data set. Let's start with the median. I'm going to get my numbers and I'm going to list them in order from small to large. So I'm going to get my numbers. I'm going to list them from small to large. Then I'm going to count how many numbers I have. So I'm figuring the median. I happen to have 15. Once again, I'm working on the median. All right, so 15. I have 15 numbers, right? 15 is not an even number. So let me subtract 1 to make it even, divided by 2. So now let me make a list. Let me make a line. Let me make a line such that I have 7 numbers on each side of my line. So I have 7 numbers through each side of my line. So I crossed out this number. Since my line went through a numbered, that happens to be the median, 7,266. Now let's work on the mean. The median is easy. Just put them in order, the number in the middle. Now the mean, I'm going to ask you to add all the numbers. Let me get a calculator. It doesn't fit all my numbers. Do you notice I have this little arrow on the left? I'm adding all my numbers. So I just added all my numbers and I happen to get 115,323. Once again, I added all my numbers. Since there's 15 numbers, I'm going to divide my result. I'm going to divide it by 15 because there's 15 numbers. So the mean in this case happens to be 7,688.2. I added all my numbers and divided by how many numbers I had. All right, so now let's take a look at my example number 6. Let's work on the median first. So for the median, I'm going to get all my numbers in order. So let me get the median. I wrote all my numbers in order. Let me count how many numbers I have. Happen to have 15. 15 is not an even number, so I'm going to subtract the 1 to make it an even, because 14 divided by 2 is 7. So I'm going to make a line such that I have 7 numbers on each side of my line. So I'm crossing out this 12. Besides that 12, I have 7 numbers on each side of my line. My median in this case is 12 because it is the number that I went through. Now let's talk about the mean or average. From the initial list, I'm going to add all my numbers. So 12 plus 5 plus 9. I'm going to add all my numbers. I'm adding all my numbers. I happen to get 361. Because there's 15 numbers, I'm going to divide my result. I'm going to divide it by 15 because there's 15 numbers. And it tells me my median, in this case, is 24.07. I saw that my third decimal number was big enough, so it brought my 6 to a 7. I rounded to 2 decimal places, so I'm going to call it 24.07. Let's take a look at 2 more examples. Let's work on the median first. I'm going to put all my numbers in order. So once again, I'm working on the median. I wrote all my numbers in order from small to large. Let me count how many numbers I have. It's easy to count the dots. Let me count how many numbers I have. Happen to have 17. 17 is not an even number. So I'm going to subtract the 1. 17 minus 1 is 16. 16 divided by 2 is 8. So I'm going to draw a line such that I have 8 numbers on each side of my line. I happen to go through number 6, so that's my median. Now let's work on the mean, or average, how people call it. I'm going to grab a calculator and I'm going to add all my numbers. I added all my numbers. Because there's 17 numbers in this case, I'm going to go my result, which is 94. I'm going to divide it by 17. Right? I added all my numbers and I'm going to divide by how many numbers I have. The mean in this case, I notice my third decimal place is big enough. So my mean in this case will be 5.53. Take a look at question number 8. Let me work the median. So I'm going to write all my numbers in order. Like I said, I'm working the median. I wrote all my numbers in order. Let me count how many numbers I have. Happen to have 14 of them. 14 is an even number because 14 divided by 2 is 7. So I'm going to make a line such that I have 7 numbers on each side of my line. Now in this case, I did not go through a numbered. I went in between 2 numbers. I went in between 4 and 5. So for the median, because I did not go through a numbered, for the median, let me add the 2 numbers where I went in between them. I'm going to add them and divide it by 2. That happened to give me 4.5. Now let's work on the mean. I'm going to grab a calculator and I'm going to add all my numbers. Do notice though that I'm not working with the numbers at the bottom. I'm working with the numbers on the left. So I added all my numbers and I happen to have 104. Because there's 14 numbers, I want to go 104 divided by 14. I notice that my third decimal number is big enough. So I'm going to say my answer is 7.43. It brings my second decimal number up. What I mean with big enough is 5 or more. All right, so my mean happens to be 7.43. Now, do notice that here I ask you guys for both the median and the mean. On your homework, it might seem like you guys have the same question twice, but make sure you guys do read the instructions. In one of your questions, I'm asking for the median, just the median. In the other question, I'm asking for the mean, just the mean. Here are my examples. I ask you guys for both median and mean. However, on the homework, one question is going to ask you for the median. The other question is going to ask you for the mean. So do pay attention to that.